Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
From AI-generated ads to machine-made movies, inch by inch, technology is invading the creative space. Are we losing something priceless in this process? And Motivational Monday is here to turn meh into magic. Tune in for stories and songs that will light a fire under your week. Coming to you live from Beijing, this is Roundtable. I'm Heyang. For today's program, I'm joined by Steve Hatherly and Fei Fei in the studio. First on today's show, AI, or artificial intelligence, is taking over more than just the tech world. It's now becoming an indispensable office work tool, writing scripts for movies, and crafting advertisements for beverage giant Coca-Cola, apparently. But as these fully AI-generated campaigns hit the market, we're seeing a wave of backlash in North America. So what's the real cost of replacing human creativity with AI? And is this the first fully AI-generated commercial?
It is not the first one. The first one was actually done by a toy company called Toys R Us. Have you heard of that company before? It's this huge American toy company, and it's kind of like the most famous one, if you think of toy store, especially toy store chains, I think. So they made a 66-second promotional film, and it debuted at the 2024 Cannes Lions Festival. And what they did there was they used OpenAI's tool Sora. I think we've mentioned Sora on Roundtable before. And the reason they were able to do that is because they had early access to it. In that commercial, it follows the origin story of the brand's founder. His name is Charles Lazarus, and it also features the very cute giraffe, Jeffrey. That's the name of the giraffe. And that's the one that's believed to be the first brand-created film using that tech. And that was the first one. The one we're going to talk about today is the Coca-Cola one. That's the one that has kind of taken the internet by storm for all of the wrong reasons. So this commercial is not just one. There were three different ones that were made. And it's all about this iconic 1995 Christmas commercial that Coca-Cola made. It's called Holidays Are Coming. And in that commercial, back in 1995, it showcases some red delivery trucks, the red Coca-Cola delivery trucks that are covered in Christmas lights, and then you've got the Santa Claus imagery. And the reason this TV commercial is so important, I guess we could say, to Americans is because it's something that people look forward to watching every single Christmas time. It's just become associated with the holiday. So in terms of advertising campaigns, this was knock it out of the park successful. This is kind of like the gold standard. They've kept this going for almost 30 years. But this year, they've stuck with the Holidays Are Coming theme, but they did an AI commercial. They did it with 3 different AI studios, and they used some different models. And the public response to this commercial, and I would encourage you to watch it online if you haven't seen it, the response has been overwhelmingly negative.
Right, and we're not unfamiliar with AI being used in everything, it feels, but usually it's like in the background of an ad, but this time it's like AI is all over the place.
Yeah.
It's fully AI, so I suppose that's the part that kind of raised some eyebrows. Fei Fei, have you checked out the original? Because I really know nothing about the Coca-Cola ad, and, as a Chinese person looking at this, do you feel a similar level, or can you understand, how North Americans are feeling about this?
I actually checked out the current version, this year's version, used only by AI generated, and I was kind of lost watching all the 3 ads because I am not really sure what kind of messages these ads are trying to deliver. And then I check out the original 1995 version, and I get why people are so angry about this new version, because by the original 1995 version, you can actually feel the festive spirits with the trucks, going into town with a kid or multiple kids in the background looking forward to the trucks. And they have these smiley faces and looking forward to maybe the holidays or even the Coca-Cola drinks. But then this one, they didn't really feature a lot of human faces, but they have sort of polar bears in it and other reindeer animals in it. And for me, it was kind of, what's the point of having these animals?
Yeah, well, it's not about the animals. That's not why people are upset at all. And it's not about even having people in the ads. It's not about any one specific thing, although they do point to a couple of examples. It's about the unrealistic or a lack of human touch to these advertisements. Remember, the advertisement itself is simply an AI version of something that Coca-Cola has been doing for many, 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 many years successfully. Have you heard of the Uncanny Valley before?
Oh, yes.
Right. So that if you haven't heard of it, that's where human beings feel a certain sense of discomfort or eeriness because the faces of AI look almost human, but not quite. And that uncanny valley effect, it makes people feel really, really uncomfortable. So you talked about the humans in this AI video. That's one of the things that made people hate this so much. And they're hating it, by the way. That's not an understatement. I'll share a couple of comments in a couple of minutes. But that's one of the reasons, is the uncanny valley effect. Then there are other little things in the video, because the internet likes to really look at details, right? And they notice that, when the truck is moving in the advertisement, the wheels aren't spinning at one point. So it's just this kind of sliding truck. So when you notice details like that, it really, you lose that sense of belief in what you're watching.
Right. And disclaimer here, Chinese person, not the target audience of the North American ad, obviously, nor do I have any preconceived perception towards this at all. I checked out the ad, which is more cartoonish, and I thought that's really smart of the AI company for generating this AI for their client, in the sense that, okay, then you don't have many human faces in it, or any, and it's kind of like an animation with the polar bears, with the other cartoonish images, and at first glance, I thought it was fine. And with the trucks, and it just looked like not a high budget, sort of like a animation ad. And I thought, sure, fine. Until I saw one of the internet users pointing out that, do you see that polar bear has 2 left paws? Well, I didn't catch it, but for, I suppose if this is AI generated and it's a cartoonish thing, then it didn't bug me that much.
Yeah, okay. And that's one of the points that I want to bring up just a little bit later, because I was trying to think, okay, well, from the customer's point of view, obviously people are very upset about this. But from a marketing point of view, does this work or does this not? Like I said, people were very upset about the lack of human touch, and that's a really important thing in advertising, whether you're talking about evoking laughter or empathy or excitement. Advertising is supposed to tap into all of these different human emotions. And the complaint here is that AI inherently lacks emotional intelligence. It doesn't have feelings. And as a result, it can't craft advertisements that truly resonate with human emotions. And you could argue, I think, as well, that this advertisement, when talking about the connection with human emotions, is even more important because Christmas is a holiday that's celebrated in the United States all over the country. So these types of advertisements are typically really emotional. It's about connecting with community and family and sharing love and things like that. And one of the major complaints is that AI has no ability to do that whatsoever. Do you want to hear just quickly a couple of the complaints about this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, people said that the ad was creepy, and Coca-Cola can no longer claim, quote, "it's always the real thing," which apparently is one of their slogans. This one's really dramatic. These are from X, by the way, formerly Twitter. One person said, "I feel like I'm watching the death of art and our planet unfold in front of my eyes, and no one seems to care." That's just a little snapshot of how people are feeling about this.
Right. I'm really curious to hear, why people are feeling this. But before we get to that, you mentioned human touch, and I've listened to so many AI-related TED Talks, lectures, etc., all say that human touch is the thing that we humans or those who work in respective industries can preciously hang on to and feel that we're safe. Our jobs are safe, that because AI can't do that. It can't provide human touch. So we're all right with our jobs. But here, actually, maybe I'm not someone who works in advertising or maybe I have a particularly low bar of acceptance. Just by looking at these ads, I don't think they bug me as much as a lot of the other people who are leaving messages online. And I just can't help but think of a lot of the Spring Festival Chinese holiday adverts, commercials I've seen throughout the years. And I might just be a little critical here. And I think about previous ads. A lot of them are pretty robotic, lack of creativity, and it's so typical.
And those are using humans.
Yeah, it's a sea of red, lots of fireworks, and a family of 3 generations, maybe 4 if you're particularly lucky, and gathered around a round table, have a big meal, and maybe you have some close-ups of a few celebrities, and then, it's 12 o'clock, let's have dumplings, and then they show up the tea, the product, the whatever. Yeah. And so when I think about it, yeah, where is the human touch? Maybe this is raising the bar for advertisement companies as well. You should come up with something a little bit more creative, because I think AI can do a pretty good advertisement in that sense. But maybe I'm a little critical here.
I think also the reason is that here in China, we don't really have an iconic similar commercial similar to this one.
I can't think of one.
None of the commercials around the Spring Festival time carry this much of significance to the consumers. So I think that's why if I really try to picture myself as well, if I saw an AI-generated Chinese New Year related commercial that's poorly made, or in my opinion, poorly made, I won't get this much angry. Maybe because I just don't care that much about the commercials.
We haven't seen a really good one.
Yeah, I'm not really attached to one version of commercials like people did here.
Well, maybe that's the sign of a bad advertisement then, is if the company, and I'm not talking about any specific company here, just any company, if they don't draw that emotion out of you and make you feel connected to their product, well, maybe that's the sign of a bad advertisement.
Exactly.
Let's replace the word bad with ineffective advertisement. You talk, Heyang, about people having their jobs taken, and that's part of the reason that people are upset about this as well. Alex Hirsch, he is the creator of Disney's TV series Gravity Falls, if you're familiar with that. He commented on X as well about the commercial. Fun fact, Coca-Cola is red because it's made from the blood of out-of-work artists. Hashtag holiday facts. Now, obviously, he's being sarcastic. That's not a true factual statement. But what he's trying to say is that people who used to work on advertisements such as this are no longer able to. As the technology advances, it could take over the roles traditionally filled by artists and illustrators and designers and maybe even musicians as well. On the other hand, I guess you could argue those who embrace AI, they could stay ahead of the trends and use it as a tool for innovation and open up new career paths. We can have that debate all day long about, are we losing jobs or are we creating new jobs? But it's definitely on the radar of people, and that's one of the reasons people are upset as well.
And I think, I think, AI is not really the problem here. For instance, like the Coca-Cola commercial here, I'm just really curious why the management decide to go ahead with these commercials. If they know the significance of the original version, and they saw the 3 ads, they're definitely flawed, even for me who are not really familiar with the original 1995 version. I can't really tell the story behind the commercials, but in the 1995, I can really tell the story of trucks of Coca-Cola delivering to the towns or cities, and people are really looking forward to them. Not only the holidays, maybe also the product. But with the new ones, I can't really see the story. I'm not seeing the point of having the trucks in these commercials.
So is it good marketing at all, or is it an example of even bad press is good exposure?
That's a good question. Yeah, we've heard that expression before, right? There's no such thing as bad press. To answer your question about, why companies are doing this, well, there's creative efficiency here. For companies with limited creative teams, and resources, I don't think we can say Coca-Cola is one of those companies, but you can use AI. Those companies can use AI for things like generative design or script writers in their creative process. There's lots of different examples where companies can make it easier to generate ideas without requiring that much human input. And again, you can argue the strengths of that or the disadvantages of that as well. Companies are also looking to the future for advertisements with technology. AI is really good at creating these hyper-realistic and fantastical things. When Sora came out the first time, have you seen the Toys R Us commercial?
Yeah.
That I don't think that one got as much hate. I didn't see comments about that one. But of course you can tell it's not human. They're not humans. But still, the AI Sora it's a really impressive tool. And I think companies are just trying to stay, ahead of the curve, if you will, stay on the cutting edge of what they're able to use. In terms of the marketing itself, let's talk about that. I found this to be very interesting, and this is what I brought up before about, whether this was an effective advertisement or not. Now, this is from a marketer who wrote this from a website called thedrum.com. And this marketer, in the beginning, hated this Coca-Cola commercial. And the reason is because the Coca-Cola Christmas truck advertisement had been used for 30 years, and it is advertising gold. These are the words of the marketer. And people love it, and advertisers love it, and advertisers look to that as kind of the gold standard, as I mentioned, about how you can make an effective campaign. They've been using that campaign for decades successfully. So the marketer's initial point of view was, this is awful. Why would you mess with this? It's already successful. People love it. You're going to alienate your audience. But then the marketer realized, well, maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. So let's do this. Let's test a group, and they tested in England. Let's test a large group of British citizens who do not know they are watching an AI commercial. So what they did was they tested them, and they just had them watch it, and then they scored them on how they felt about it. And the ad got effective gold star ratings from that large British audience who did not know that they were watching an AI-generated advertisement. 98% of viewers knew that it was a Coca-Cola ad within the first 15 seconds, which is a big deal in advertising if you're able to identify what is being sold to you, and they didn't have any problem with the TV commercial whatsoever. The conclusion that the advertiser came to was that this is an effective advertisement. The initial visceral reaction might not be strong, but in terms of an advertisement itself, it's strong.
So you're saying that it's the same ads we've been talking about from the top of the show that was tested on these British, so non-Americans, and without knowing it's AI generated and people are okay with it.
This was the conclusion. He said the ad worked because consistency is the greatest trick applied by world-class marketers. The less you change, the better. Coke has repeated this idea for literally 30 years, the same advertisement. Because humans don't want to think. We are cognitive misers. Coke needs to do much less heavy lifting to land this idea in 2024. They can produce the ad faster with these creative AI tools. And they've done that. And he said, even the song is the same. It's effective. That's according to this advertising expert. Yeah.
So is the crux of the problem letting or not letting your audience know this is AI generated? Is it that because maybe as human beings who know that, AI is affecting so many aspects of the job market, and knowing that something is machine created instead of somebody bleeding their heart behind this project, and inherently good intentioned people have some sort of bias towards technology in that sense.
But still, I think for a company who definitely want to reach out to more people, more even potential consumers with the commercial, they'll definitely use the AI as the selling point in these commercials.
Yeah, I think so, because it's so new, right?
Yeah.
And the problem doesn't seem to be that it's AI. The problem seems to be AI being used with visuals. There are other examples of AI being used effectively in campaigns. L'Oreal, for example, they leveraged Meta AI's technology for personalized marketing. In the beauty industry, that's a beauty company if you're not familiar, they used AI in their AI-driven virtual try-on experiences, like their Makeup Genius app. And it was successful because the AI tools allowed users to virtually try on makeup or hair colors. So that's a pretty cool thing. It's interactive with the audience. They mention that it's AI. It's in the name. And that's an effective use of AI there. Again, the problem seems to be the visuals. Going back to the commercial, there's a scene where Santa grabs the Coke bottle and his fingers look, you've seen it, right? It looks kind of bizarre. It's the uncanny valley. It looks realistic, but not so realistic, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. It's the visuals.
Right, and the fingers are apparently a major issue for AI, and I thought they would have gotten better in 2024, because last year or the year before, I remember doing a big presentation at a podcast AI conference, and everybody agreed that a lot of the AI generated images had 6 fingers, and that was like a typical era of AI. And now still today they still haven't figured that out. Well, in a way that's kind of comforting for the human being to know that.
It sort of reminds me a lot of the live streaming right now in China. The host is actually AI generated as well. You can literally tell from, because of maybe the uncanny effects that, but I guess it didn't really draw a lot of backlash with those live streams, just because AI is really effective in delivering messages, in delivering informations when it comes to deals and different campaigns. So that's what people really care about instead of the people.
And also there is a major legal gray area when it comes to AI generated content, because a lot of the material, the fodder that AI has in its canon is all illegal. There are some major lawsuits going on around the world about, all the information and images it's scraping from the internet. So for some companies which have good legal teams would advise them, hey, we really better be careful with all this AI generated content, because we don't want to get into potential legal lawsuits as such. And as long as they're with Coca-Cola, again, I'm a little puzzled how and why, and if it's got its rear end covered, for any potential legal lawsuits in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, when I watched the commercial, what I did was, before I dug into the details of why people were upset, I just knew that was kind of the worldwide headline. Like, people hate these advertisements. So I said, okay. So I watched it. But I didn't watch with a critical eye in the beginning. I was just watching as if I were at home, and I was flipping through the TV commercials. I didn't have a problem with what I saw because I didn't pick up on Santa's weird fingers. I didn't notice the non-spinning wheels of the truck. I didn't even notice. So when I finished watching, I thought, why are people so angry about this? Then I read why. Then I went back and watched the advertisements again, and I thought, oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, if we're paying that close attention and they're messing with an advertising campaign that's been that successful for that long, then I do kind of get it.
Right. So I guess the message or the takeaway here could be that AI being used in idea formation, fine. That's already happening in the creative industry, and hopefully these folks get to keep their jobs just using AI as a tool. And when it comes to the visual product, you got to be super careful, companies out there, because a lot of people don't like it.